Welcome back to From the Pillow Fort, your cozy corner for aspec insights and warm conversations, where the spectrum of identities unfolds and every listener finds a snug space to belong.
Well, and with that, hello and welcome to one of our very rare English episodes. This is a special one because we do have two people you rarely, if ever, heard on this podcast before, and one of them likes to speak English, so deal with it. Yeah. As usual, I am Lennart. Pronouns are he, him.
And yes, I am Tobias. I'm usually editing episodes, so I'm here now for reasons. My pronouns are also he, him, and I'm asexual.
My name's Anouk. I'm the one that likes to speak English, and I use all pronouns.
So, with the two of you, we'd like to talk about something that we do not really had the chance before to talk about. And the topic for this this month. Let's not get too ambitious, but no. Our topic today should be moving town and or country as an aspec person, meaning you leave one place and you start living at another place.
Absurd concept.
Yes. For all of you people who do not know what it is, that's something that's usually happening once or twice in a life, that you have to leave everything behind and start again, sometimes with or sometimes without a name change, but my lawyer said I should not talk about that aspect too much.
Sounds like a very promising endeavor then.
Yes, I am not allowed to talk about it. But yes, to begin with, we could just talk about our experiences moving. So, given you're both here, I suspect that you may have moved from one place to another and that you were also an aspec person when you did move from one place to another, or am I mistaken?
I will go ahead. And for me, I wasn't really an aspec person, or at least I wasn't out of the closet at this point. This started like on my second move, but on my first move from outside of my parent home, it was rather, let's say, rushed. I really didn't take any like furniture with me. Got the basic necessities like some clothes in a bag and maybe a little bit of books and something because I had to get out of there like as soon as possible. So yeah, that was my first move. The second move was like a little smoother. I still wasn't out at this point. Yeah, that was the point where I got some furniture with me as well. I had to do a lot of organizing, not that much of like identification of if area we would move to is like very queer friendly of sorts. But this will come into play later. And at this point, I would give up the words to Anouk.
Thanks. Yes, I've moved quite a few times. I forgot to count how many times actually, but I've moved cities and countries. But all of these moves, I was not aware that I was an aspec person, so the next move will actually be the first one. Mm. Yeah, I forgot what you asked actually.
Yeah, something about that. What I'd also like to ask beforehand, in your moves, was it like from big city to small city, or from small city to town, or just what kind of environment did you start and end up in?
Okay, I moved out of my parents' house, very small town, moved to a big city for my bachelor's, then I moved to a different big city for my master's, moved in between there, but I was studying in the same place and I knew the same people. Mm-hmm. And then I moved here for my PhD. Yeah.
I moved basically from countryside to countryside, and then from the countryside to the big city I'm now living in. Yes, biggest city I know.
Well, regarding the German law, it is a big city. We are living in a Großstadt.
Ooh, yes. The more you know. So it's the first time I moved near or towards a bigger city, and it's certainly a different experience. Like I'm still living somewhat outside of a big city, but the city I live now in is still very much bigger than the countryside I lived before. And yes, it's definitely a different experience.
How so? What would you say are the main differences?
I think, or at least in my opinion, it's like the degree of busyness. Like in a bigger city or a big city, people tend to be like more busy. There's more action, and also there's not that much of a close-knit community net of sorts. Like if you are living on the countryside, usually everybody knows each other and talks shit behind the backs of everyone else. But usually you have a common sense of community and less like people that are anonymous. And yeah, that's definitely one big thing. And a second point, coming back to the busyness of the bigger cities, is like you just have more things that can irritate you. At least for me, that's the case since I have ADHD. That I always get like confused when I see like neon signs and advertisements in any way, shape, or form. Like I can't really think straight, and sometimes even at night, it really distracts me. So that's a big point for me.
For me, this is the smallest official city I've lived in, and it fits me much better than the other ones. I think definitely I agree with your point of in big cities, it's this feeling of anonymous, and it's so big you can just drown in the people but never know anyone. And also in my parents' area, it's very normal that you move in somewhere and you say hi to your neighbors and you know the people next to you and so on. And this is so not normal in cities that it's really frustrating. Yeah.
Interesting that you find it frustrating, because I think quite the different. For me it's very liberating in the sense for that basically nobody knows what I'm doing, who I am, and that means if I do something stupid and just, I don't know, fall flat on the street, then no one cares, and I just get up and no one will mention it ever again.
True. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I guess this doesn't really tangent me too much because I like to stay. I'd like to stay inside anyways, so I wasn't that much of an outgoing person.
Yeah, but on the other side, I think it's just quite nice to know that if you don't want to see a person, then it won't happen by accident.
Yeah.
So, for example, I had a few friends a few years ago and we don't talk to each other. Long story, doesn't matter. But they live somewhere in town and I live somewhere else in town and I haven't seen them in a few years. And I did not need to think about avoiding them or something. And that's, I think, quite nice.
True. I think I miss the feeling of community because so many people like the anonymity that it's hard to find people that are willing to be your community, and I guess it's easier to find in the countryside.
Yeah, like I think it's easier because there are less ways around it, like that I mentioned. There's always like persons always know you and you have to interact with people because there's just such a limited pool of people. And in like bigger cities, you have to find your communities. You have to be active and outgoing and make this a proactive step in order to get connected to people. Yeah. So that's basically at least what I think this is connected to. Like, for example, it was for me the same when I tried to join the aspec's here. It was, I had to at first find the group itself and need to, get aware of them and then gather the courage to go to one of the meetings, because usually there are a lot of people when I think about a meeting or an official meeting. And there are some hurdles in order to get to know people. but for me it wasn't that hard because I'm somewhat outgoing or more outgoing, probably also due to age reasons, I guess, whatever. But I can imagine that people that are more introverted and don't or struggle more with connecting to other people, that they would have a hard time going to such meetings and connect to people.
That's possible, yes. I can't speak on that behalf.
I might have stalked the Instagram page of this specific aspec group for a few months. But it's great because, I mean, it's up to date. At least it was for a while, and I could see what was happening in the events and stuff. And then also I knew one person already, which was really helpful. Yeah, it was a bit of a step. I don't know. Yeah. But now it's nice. Now it's great.
Yeah, now you know a few people over here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think enough from big city, small city talk. Yeah, we could talk ages about that, but people don't have to listen to an aspec podcast to hear those opinions.
Wait, we are not like a free equity markets podcast or whatever discussing the financial fluctuations.
I do have quite a lot of opinions about that part, but at the start of the podcast we said we don't want to be too political.
Fair, yes.
And a podcast for people of every walk in life, and it is not good if I start to get angry about certain situations and start to talk in bad words about some people in our society.
That is a fair point.
Yes. So, I have prepared a lot of questions, and
wonderful.
Anouk said they prepared also a few answers to those questions. You didn't,
yes.
Tobias?
I came prepared.
Yes.
So, who needs
the
that?
first question is very easy. Have you moved alone or with a partner or both when you did move?
The first time I moved to my partner alone. And the second time I moved from the countryside to the bigger city was with my partner together.
And would you say that the moving with the partner from point A to point B was different than moving to them?
Given that the situation was wholly different, yes, on that note, definitely. But in a more general sense, yes. Definitely. We had to really figure out what do we want to take with us, what do we throw away, and then organize stuff beforehand, like pack it all up. And it's basically a lot of logistical stuff that needs to be discussed.
How about you, Anouk?
I had a partner for a couple of years, and I've moved on my own when we weren't together. I've moved in from shared flats to shared flats when we were together, and I've also moved in with this person for a couple of years and then moved out again. So I think I've covered everything. I definitely agree with the practical stuff of moving with someone together. There's a lot more practical stuff to take care of. You have to merge two flats into one and decorate it as you both like.
Yeah, that's a point that I just do not know, as I have moved out from my parents and then I moved in this town from point A to point B, and I was like, I want to live alone. I want to shut my door and then be alone, and if I do not go outside, I don't want to see anyone. So I have no idea about that part. But despite me loving my solitude, it also comes with a few challenges. For example, I will move actually next week from recording this, and one big point of how can I do this is I do have a few heavy and big things like a bed or a closet for my clothes, and I can't move it alone. So I had to get help, and I can imagine if you are moving with a partner, for example, you already have two people and don't have to think about getting external help. Or would you say that's still a point of discussion and planning that's involved?
I wouldn't say that it's necessarily enough for two people when you are moving. Like usually, there are always, but it is always better to have friends there that help you, just because like A, it goes faster, and B, some people just have either moved before or have like used a renting service to get a car that is big enough to move stuff from A to B, like especially when you are moving from one city to another and they are like 150 kilometers apart or so. Like especially if you can't drive the car yourself, you would need at least one more person in order to get the stuff carried over. So there are a lot of reasons to like get in contact with your friends and ask them if they can support you when you are moving.
It's also more fun if your friends help.
Yes, definitely.
I like helping people move. It's usually a fun day. But yeah, I've always had my parents involved because I can't drive. No one I know can drive the big van, and it's always been practical. But I think now we're reaching the point that they might be there for the like helping organize part and driving, but the carrying should be done by me and my friends, which I think is a fair enough balance.
Yeah, definitely like that. And there's also always pizza involved.
Yes. Yes. And moving, honestly, it's fun. Moving with friends is great.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be stressful and just tedious. It can be fun. Like I helped one of my friends move as well because they couldn't drive a van as well, and therefore they asked me. It for one thing, it felt really good, like you just said, and it was just. We just had a nice talk while we were driving like for 2.5 hours to their new flat. So
I have to be the contrarian again. I don't actually like moving, but that's also because I don't like driving. Like for next week, I am legally allowed to drive the car that I need to move, but I don't like driving a car. There are so many things you have to just observe and be careful for. But on the other side, driving is so boring. Nothing happens. You just sit there and you do left and right with your hands and you do up and down with your foot and that's it. But if you do any mistakes, everyone will die. And that's like the most boring activity with the most obscenely drastic consequences for a mistake. And yeah, that's why I just don't look forward to that. And on the other side, I'm a person who likes not doing things more than they like doing things. And if I have the choice of carrying my very heavy closet out of my living apartment and into another, or just not doing that, I just would not doing that. Yeah, at least one of the upsides when you move alone is that you just don't have to coordinate with anyone else what you can leave behind and what you will take with you. That's one thing I like very much.
yeah, and probably you won't have as much stuff that you have to take with you because like the more people meaning more stuff to carry.
Yeah, that's right. For me, it's like I'm gonna get 5 boxes full of stuff, but I'm not sure if I can even fill all of those 5 boxes.
What the hell?
With my stuff?
When I move alone, I have 16 boxes.
Yeah.
I mean, they're mostly empty, but I have a lot of books, so they're heavy anyway. But there's 16 boxes.
Yeah. I don't know if I can even fill 5. My guess is more like 3 or maybe 4. And then I do have a table where I sit and work and a bed and good. I'm gonna leave behind my shelves, but that's basically it when I'm gonna move. So yeah, that's just to illustrate, you don't have always that much. But on the other side, it's also like a challenge to do interior decorating when I'm moving in because I don't have anything. But on the other side, as I'm just the only person that's gonna live there, I can do it however I want. Yeah. And especially in the kitchen, I learned it's just great to have everything exactly where you want it, not have to think about it or compromise. Like, if I know I need a fork, then I know exactly where it is and where it's gonna be, unless I was the one that did not place it back there. And that's very great. You can just optimize your space to your personal needs. And yeah, I don't know if I would like to compromise on that. But on the other side, I don't care enough about most people that I would want to live with them.
Mhm. So I can tell you, as a person who lives in a partnership now for at least, I think, 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, usually like cutlery isn't like distributed over the whole flat equally. So usually you over time you find like there are certain furniture lists where some pieces of stuff is like in general placed. And this comes just over time. But I definitely get the point where you were coming from. Like that you lose the sense of autonomy when you are living with a partner together, and you have to find a combined autonomy, and you have to compromise at that point. I definitely get the point. But yeah, for me, it's like I already went through that phase, and when you are like on good terms with your partner and you work together as a team pretty well, this equilibrium finds itself pretty fast.
Also, I think that if you are living with a partner, you want to compromise and do things together. Like, I think that's the whole point of it.
Exactly.
But not everyone does have a partner and still can't afford rent as a single person or don't want to live alone. And then they will move into a Wohngemeinschaft, as it's called over here in Germany. I actually do not know the English word, if there is a
Just a shared flat?
specific English word, possibly. And one of the questions I was sent to was that if you are moving into such a living situation, how would you go to figure out that they are safe for you as queer people, as a non-straight people, in your case aspec people, but I would like to widen it because not everyone is aspec, sadly. Yeah, the word would be...
That would be a world, yeah.
That
Not
would be
yet.
much easier, but yeah. How would you or did you look around and try to figure out if you are welcome in your new places?
I think I've been living in shared flats and I'm still trying to. And now that I'm aware that I am aspec, I'm trying to think, okay, I should find a place that is okay with this. I think I've been to a couple of castings where I would just drop like casual things like, oh, you know, I'm going to, let's say, a stay, just to see if they say, oh shit, then I know I'm out. I am really excited when flats include like gender neutral language in German. I am much more excited about those flats to begin with. But I feel like in Göttingen it's okay. I'm worried about doing this in other places, but here I feel like the average flat is very likely to be fine.
Yeah.
But this is going to be very interesting when I move elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you have the big bonus of, on the first look, you look like a person that's born female. And most of the flats in this town that do not like queer people wouldn't let you in based on that alone. So
Fair, yes.
regarding that.
Easy selection criteria, thank you. Yes, I hadn't even realized.
Yeah, I looked around for a few flats a few years ago, and there was like quite a lot that would just say only men, and somehow they were all kind of weird.
I do avoid flats with mostly men, that's true.
Yeah, they weren't mostly, they were only men, please. Please and thank you, no women allowed and no other identities, but it's quite easy to ignore them because if it's looking far too expensive for what it's saying on the price, there's usually, in German we say eine Leiche im Keller, so a corpse in the basement. And sometimes I'm not sure if that's just a figure of speech.
Yeah, I definitely get what you say. Like the first thing I was thinking about when you mentioned like expensive flats and let's say boys only flats. What struck to me is like the study societies. because they certainly are making a negative impact in several ways, called Burschenschaften in German. And I would advise everyone to keep well away of those people. Some are okay, I have heard, but there are definitely like very extreme ones and very like indoctrinating in a sense. To add that tidbit of information here.
Also, a small tip from me: if they invite you and the rooms have names over the doors, like this is room XYZ, just look up who that name belonged to, and if they are most prominent for something they did in the 1930s, just leave.
As fast as you can.
Maybe as fast as you can. That just make a nice excuse, say like, oh, I forgot my cat in the oven, or my house is burning down, or I need to go to the toilet very fast and the bus stop is just next door. Just leave.
I need to change the battery of my window.
Exactly. Yeah. So I would say if the names on the doors are 1930s people, it's definitely not a queer safe space. On the other side, maybe, I have not noticed it, but maybe other Wohngemeinschaften have names from queer people over the doors, then that may be good, I think.
Yeah. It like really comes down to the general like atmosphere, and like there is a certain sense of community, I think, when queer people talk to each other. So you have to go with your gut, I guess, is always the thing to do.
Yes.
Like sometimes they're definitely, or basically most of the times, I guess. I wasn't looking for a flat like in a long time, but sometimes it cannot be omitted and you just have to take a flat and take a risk. But if you are like, if you have the freedom to just choose and are not confined to take one flat, you definitely should go with your feelings and go with your gut.
I also just remembered my letter starts with hi, then the names of this flat, and then it starts with my name is Anouk. These are my pronouns, which if you are like, oh, pronouns, then you will stop reading right then and there, and that's perfect.
That's quite an easy way to filter out most of the non-inclusive people, I think. Yeah. Okay, let's see. What other questions did I prepare?
You are not prepared.
I am prepared in a way. I'm just not prepared that the questions do not flow into each other that well.
Sorry.
It's also my problem because I just wrote them down in the order that I thought of them and not in an order that makes sense. When deciding where to move, what are the things you would want to look out for and or avoid in the new place? For example, the political stance of the town, or it being too big or too small, or I guess in your situation, Tobias, it would be too busy, or like what would be your factors if we, just for the sake of it, just think about you need to move in the next few months? Like what would you look out for in the next place you would have to live?
For me, a starter would be like, if I start to move, like to get a new job at a certain area, or I plan to take a job at a certain area, like I would look for how the voting is distributed in the general area. And basically I would just look a little bit like, because nowadays you can look it all up. It's all made up in like very nice and visible maps in the internet. And you can like see the how people voted in certain regions. At least that's the case for Germany. And I definitely would base my choice up on that. This also gives you somewhat of an insight on maybe what jobs to avoid. Like it definitely is not a 100% like all people voted AfD in this one, and therefore you cannot take a job there because all the people have to be Nazis or so. But it definitely is like one of the indicators you can base your choice up on. Another point I would look then in, if I have found like a good fit, is how pets are treated in the general area. Like especially if you move with pets, it's very important that the general area is not like like there are too much cats and you have a cat that is outgoing and likes to be outside a long time of the day. Probably will be getting attacked, or it can make a name for itself and be the cat king of wherever you live. But yeah, it's definitely a point to consider. But also, like, certain people are just weird and try to either get pets killed in some way. Actively, I've heard one story where a person was actually hunting cats, like actually actively putting out traps in order to, basically lure it in. I don't know if a cat has been killed this way, but I cannot exclude it either. So yeah, this would be some of the points I would look out for at this point. The standard things like how is the rent, how are the neighbors? Are they like nice, or do they have a certain history you don't want to come into contact with? And if you are moving into a building that has like several parties living in there, like a 4-party house, so basically meaning a house with 4 families living there, or 4 like flats in there and there live people in there. How is the general stability of the house? Is it like well taken care of? Is it part of some kind of equity firm that doesn't really care about the stability and the general sense that the house is okay? So yeah, this would be the things that I look out for.
Maybe just call the police and say there's a noise complaint and see if they say, yeah, we get that, we look by, or if they say, which house is it? I don't know that. Can you tell me where it is again?
Yeah. I have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Even though calling the police, no.
Yeah, I don't know, but please do not call the emergency hotline unless you have an actual emergency. Just so we're clear. Yes. Anouk, do you have anything else that you would look out for when deciding where to move?
I'm currently thinking about where to move next, and I'm possibly going to quit like an academic career so I can be in charge of where I live, because this is actually important, turns out. And I've been like orienting a little slowly. Like Göttingen is a great city. I like that it's so small and so like left-leaning, and it's a really nice place. So I've been asking lots of people around me, like, if you weren't living here, what city would you move to get a feeling for Germany? So the other option is probably Hamburg. And I think the only other thing that I wanted to add was, now that I know it's possible that I'm never going to have a partner, and I do present female, that means that it's likely that I will avoid certain neighborhoods where as a woman you just wouldn't feel safe.
Yeah.
Where having a partner would mean you could probably live there, and this is for me now out of the question, which was an interesting realization.
Yeah, sadly it's not that usual for some neighborhoods that you would just be living alone as a person that looks female. On the other side, I just don't get it, because why would I care what you do in your own place and stuff? But that's another conversation. I just don't get the whole debate around all of this, because if I'm asked, then I just say no, and then they can go and do whatever they want, and if I'm not asked, then why should I care? But yeah.
Fair, yes.
Yeah, like I don't see the problem with anyone doing something that I personally would not like to do in their own homes.
Yeah, but apparently some people just have either too much time or not enough hobbies, I guess.
I think both.
Yeah, both is also not that far off.
Yes, but let's not get into that. We can maybe at some point invite someone who thinks like that and then ask them how it looks. Possibly, if someone like that would like to go on the podcast, then you can leave us a comment on Instagram or at the comment section on whatever platforms. Do you have comment sections? I don't know that.
Basically everywhere.
I'm not the person uploading the episode, so I don't know where exactly you can comment and where you can just listen. But yeah. Otherwise, we are always welcoming of any cat pictures.
Oh, yes.
Big cats, small cats, fluffy cats, short-haired cats, any cats.
Bald cats?
I personally don't like them as much, but why not?
Flying cats, fishy cats.
Yes, please no AI-generated cats.
Yes.
But yeah, back to the topic, I would say. Yes. One other question that's written down in my Big Smart document is, how did you, up until now, when you have moved somewhere, try to get to know new people? Like you both said, you have lived in bigger places and smaller places. And how did you go about not being sad, lonely kids in your bedrooms, crying every night until they fall asleep? How do you do that?
I think in my studies it was quite easy because you start studying, and especially the first year of your bachelor's, many people moved, so we were all looking for friends, and I was very active in study associations where you just meet lots of people. Now it's getting a little harder. Also being abroad, like there was a language barrier for quite a while, and it's getting better, but not quite completely there yet. So most of my social circle right now is other people that are still at the university. But I think in general, sports is a great place to meet people. If my German was much better, I would be meeting much more people at the gym. And I've now realized that queer spaces are a great place to go. Like here at the Queer Centrum, that's been really nice.
Yeah, I totally agree on that point. Like just being forced to interact with people due to like
We make you talk.
Torture being just one way. Other methods. No, but it definitely helps being forced to meet people and interact with people. Like, for example, I also do some stuff with study associations, mostly like organizing events for students that are new to the study course. So that definitely helped. Another thing is just like, certain events when you look up for groups, be that like you start doing sports. Like here in Göttingen, there are also like sports groups that are specifically for queer people.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah.
Sugar Club.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think there are some flyers around here. Definitely like keep a lookout for those events, because I think they are like increasing somewhat in frequency, or at least like in general appearance, even though I have no real data on that, but I just assume. And queer spaces in general, be that a queer center or maybe some clubs as well. Like I've heard of those people that like clubbing. I myself am not very fond of clubbing, but apparently it's
Clubbing.
I'm clubbing the clubby club. Well, anyway. Yeah, so this is definitely a thing to look out for, to get to know people and have some kind of safe space as well. And if you are chronically online and already have people like distributed all over like the country you live in, you certainly have like the means to connect to people. It's like online spaces are always some way to get a sense of community, even though you are not interacting like with the person in real life every day. But maybe it also opens up some situations where you could move closer together and get started on doing some things.
Yeah, also one method that I do know of but have not tried and don't think I will ever try. But there are also apps for your smartphone where normally people go on and try to like dating and stuff. But most of these apps also do have friendship options. So I heard. I did once experiment and used one of those apps for a month, and that one had a friendship option that I didn't use back then because I wanted to look how dating would be like. Spoiler alert, I didn't like it.
Big surprise.
Yeah. The funny thing or sad thing, however you want to see, is I was like, I'm not gonna give them any money. So I just use my free stuff that I'm given every day. And over 1 month of using all my free swipes and messages and stuff, I had 2 people that actually sent more than a text that I would suspect was sent by a bot. So I actually had contact with 2 people from this area somewhere, I think. There we circle back to the point of big city. If you don't meet up, you don't see anyone. But yeah, dating apps and stuff is also quite a interesting way how you could try to find new friends. And otherwise I would just bandwagon what you said and say, go look for hobbies that you like.
Go get hobbies.
Yes.
Don't be the person that stalks other people in their houses.
Yes, not stalking someone is generally good, but for my new place I've already seen there is a sports club where I can play soccer or football, depending where you're from. And there's also a jam session every month for music interested people, and I just want to look up if that's cool.
Sounds good.
So yeah, that are like my ways. I just look for people like me in the way of asexual or aspec or nerds or do like the sport. Yeah, I'm quite a nerd. I'm the person. I took a picture from a map from Europe where I thought that couldn't exist, just to look up later if the map actually could exist, because it had like 1940s Germany with Österreich, Austria, and Germany and the western of Poland, but also it had Yugoslavia. And I don't know if both of these country configurations existed at the same time.
Did you look it up?
Not now.
I am no certified geograph student, so I cannot say anything to this.
Yeah, but I just wanted to illustrate that's the kind of nerd that I am in certain areas. So yeah, if you find another person with that special interest, then you basically are friends for as long as you are in that area, and that's quite easy. Yeah.
I did hear from a friend yesterday. We were talking about Bumble because he wants to date, so we set up a profile. But then he'd also, when he moved here, he'd set up Bumble for like friendship. But apparently Bumble only lets you do this with people of your own gender. And then there were like 5 people in the whole of the city. So of course that got nowhere. But also we were a bit unhappy with, why can you only be friends with your own gender? Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
It's like school all over again. You have to be confined to those groups because you belong there.
Yes.
No diversion is appreciated. No.
On the other side, there's still that belief that you cannot be friends with a person of the opposite gender.
Fair, yes.
But yeah, I don't think we have to expand on that because I think we're all on the same page.
Yes. I think that goes without discussion.
Yes. If you are not sure what we think about it, then I would advise for you to listen to more episodes and use your brain.
Yeah, that sounds like a smart idea.
Yes. The brain is actually useful if you use it and think about stuff.
What? No, I was talking about listening to more of our episodes.
Yeah.
What? Who cares
Who
about
thinks?
the brain? Like it's just a mushy ball of flesh.
Yeah, I don't know anything about brains besides them somewhat working, so
Yeah.
anyways.
Sidetracked.
Yes. This is quite a bad episode regarding that. Normally we are more on track.
I'm
Oh.
having fun at least.
That's something, yes. But I do have 3 topics left in my document. First one you, Tobias, already started to talk about is how do you stay in touch with the people that you left behind when you moved? So for me, it's like calling them, and when I'm in the area, I try to visit them. And then I do have some people online, and then we're hardcore gaming, of course.
Sometimes with peak performance.
Yes, sometimes. Mostly not, because I'm not that coordinated all the time. But yeah, I just try, if I'm in the area, to visit them and then sometimes call them. And is that something you do as well, or do you have like a yearly trip planned where you're just over, I don't know, Easter, go to Rome and visit the Pope doing this Easter stuff also? Or something like that, I don't know. Maybe you like being squished by 10,000 people.
Maybe.
Maybe. There are weirder kings, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, listen to our BDSM episode if you want to know more about kings.
So far we are along.
Shameless self-promotion.
Shameless. No.
No, quite shameful, because that was a very wild episode.
It was also very, very wild to edit it.
Yes.
Well, anyway. So, staying in contact with people is hard. It always depends on what kind of relationship you have. Like, for example, some people are think it is sufficient to speak with each other like very intensively for 2 to 3 hours every month. And some people need contact like regularly, even though it's short contact, like every day. So you have to accommodate this balance in a way, like also in a way that you can manage and not like force yourself to have contact. And therefore, sometimes relationships just fizzle out because it just takes too much effort to keep them alive. And yeah. So that's one point. This then like filters out what are the relationships that continue on and keep going. And sometimes it helps like to have regular events scheduled. Like if you are doing stuff online, for example, pen and paper is a great thing to have regular meetings where you either meet online, or if you have like a common place where you could be, do meet up there, and everyone can prepare beforehand how to get there. And this is like the main thing I do now, because it's like a special interest of mine, and I'm now head over heels into 2 groups. It's a thing. Anyway. But also, if people are like online and play games together, is always a great thing to socialize and keep a relationship going. But yeah, it's really up to interests and time, like what relationships stay. So there's always like relationships that just cannot keep going because people are diverting from each other.
Yeah. I would also say playing games online has been great. We did do a physical meetup once because one of my friends from my studies moved to Helsinki, so it's not so casual to see each other in person. And we did a trip to Hamburg at some point.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but also I think sometimes, like, no matter how hard you try, if the other person just loses interest in the friendship, it's gonna die. Had quite a few of those, and it's a shame. But
Everything's gonna die someday.
that's the even more sad note. Yeah, but I think these are good thoughts to do try and stay in touch. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think a great point is at this point that you are in a situation where you have to ask yourself, where am I investing too much energy to keep a relationship going, and comes sufficient energy back, or does no energy come back and it's basically just a one-way street?
Yeah.
So it's in a way a great filter to for good relationships.
So you would say just move every few years to a different town and then you will lose all the friends that you don't really need? Or what did you want to say?
Yeah, you could call it somewhat a relationship maxing. to be with the kids.
With the kids.
Not telling on my age, no.
The weaks will be cold and only the strong will remain.
Exactly. Like in the meritocracy we are currently living in.
Yes, totally. Totally meritocratic, you see. And
Yes, 100%.
yes. I'm also very good at words, so
Big words, big brain.
yes. Monkey brain break.
Yes. Uga. Banana nice.
2 more points are written in my document. And the one is quite random.
Nice. I like random.
Yeah, me too. It's still related to the topic, but it's quite random because I just was wondering, what do you like most and least about moving, and what is for you the easiest and hardest parts?
What do I like and what do I dislike about moving? Well, I like about moving when it's over. I think like if you're a great moment when you move is like you get rid of some old baggage that you were carrying around and that you have to get rid of, because sometimes you cannot take everything with you and you have to make a decision to just get it away, and it's like freeing space up in your mind, or at least for me it does. And that's a pretty nice feeling. And the worst part, I think, is mostly the organizing and the stuff that is unclear until the moving actually happens. Like, you don't really know, will the people be there? Will everything be sorted out? Will something break? Is everything there? Do we need to make some different adjustments? Do we have to buy some stuff? Yeah, so I think that's the worst part. And what was the other half of the question?
Easiest and hardest.
Easiest and hardest. I think the hardest part for me would be like coordinating all the people when you have like several people invited in order to move, because like you have to keep everything in mind, and especially when you are moving and you don't really have people that can act on their own, you have to like hush them around and show them how what goes and where goes where, and play Tetris at the same time. So that sounds kind of stressful, and therefore the easiest part is like when you are arriving at the new space where you live, and take everything out of the van and sit together and eat something and have fun together. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Right. Well, you said like leaving behind physical luggage. I felt like my favorite thing about moving, at least it was for the past 10 years, was that you go to a new place and you can sort of reinvent yourself. You can leave your old self behind. Because, I mean, of course, you change over the years, and then your friendship is kind of stuck in one version of yourself, and then you just new place, new me.
Yeah.
Which, because I grew a lot over the past 10 years, is always really nice.
Oh yeah.
So I like leaving behind like old versions of me. And actually the practical parts of moving is to me the easiest, because I've moved so much, like how to pack, how to prepare the paperwork, done, got that. And my dad Tetris the van. I don't have to do that. No one else gets to do that. I'm not allowed. That's his job. I only have to carry stuff. I think the hardest about moving would be you step into this new space and it's just four walls, and somehow it has to become a home. Which that is so extremely hard. It helps a lot to put your stuff around, but still it takes a lot of time to grow this into what feels like home, what you think of as home, which for me is the hardest part. Especially if you move into a shared flat, there's people, they have a dynamic. That's also, you have to integrate in this life, which always takes a lot of energy.
Like always finding the area, the place where you are comfortable and also not intruding on the borders of others, and also maybe you don't want to show too much of yourself because like there's some sensitive stuff going on, and some people are maybe not that queer friendly as you think they are.
So it's always a bit of I think the first month or two is the hardest.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I can't say anything to that. I have not.
We should have recorded when you have moved. And then you would, everything's fresh in your brain.
Well, I will be moving into a flat just by myself, so I can't, even then I can't say anything about how much do I want to show for myself. Because
no, but I mean, you know how it is to decorate four walls into your own home.
Yeah, that I remember. For me, it's always just a process, and the place has to grow into what it should be for me. And yeah, over the time I would just adjust stuff. For example, in my place where I am now living, at the start my plant lived near the window.
Solid choice.
But the problem is it's quite a big plant and it took up half the window place that I had. So I had to move it somewhere so that I could look outside of my window and actually have a window that I can open. And then I didn't have a place where I could put my plant, and I didn't want to just put it on the ground. So I went shopping and I found at a used stuff store. I found like an old basket where I now put my dirty clothes in, and my plant is on top of that.
Nice.
Yeah, and that just happened because it was a process. My plant can't stay here, but I don't want it just on the ground, so I need something to put it on. And then I thought, what can I use it for? And that's basically with everything that's in my area, in my realm of living. It has to be adaptable and it has to grow, so yeah. It will be very interesting because the layout of my new place is very weird.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's basically a big square, and on the one side I do have windows, and on the other side I do have doors to the other rooms, and I have no idea how I could decorate it and put stuff in because it's just a big square and you can't put anything on the walls because either there's a window or there's a door.
Yeah, sounds like a struggle.
Yes. So I will have to see what I can do with all of that, but that's also a challenge that I like when moving. Like you said, you can reinvent yourself, but I think you can also just reinvent how you want to live in that space. And
Yes.
for me, I don't need to reinvent myself at the moment.
Good.
I will have to in some ways, but so far so good. But I will have to reinvent how I live because of that
Yes.
stupid design of the flat.
Mm.
I mean, why is it a square?
Squares are cool.
Why do you have to put doors on every flat wall? You know, a wall can just stand and that's it. It doesn't need anything
It
more.
probably stands better without the door, yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, we'll see.
Yes.
Yes.
I feel like at some point at the very beginning you said something about, I forgot what you said, about finding space, like discovering that this aspec group exists and stuff.
Yeah.
I know that everyone hates on Instagram, but for me, Instagram has been absolute godsend. Like the algorithm, you can debate about the moral parts of this, but it picked up on me questioning being queer very early on, and then my feed changed.
Yeah.
And it's been fascinating, but it's been so, because I didn't know this existed until I found this on Instagram.
Mhm.
And of course, at home, I don't know anyone else who's aspec, but I found on Instagram that there is groups in every city that is like sufficiently big,
Mhm.
which for me, Instagram is great. I
Yeah.
discovered so many groups and events also in Göttingen just because of an algorithm, which I think is great. I think people should really be aware of this more.
Yeah, definitely. Like I have already told about my age, so let's get this out of the way. Like in a social media sense, I feel really like a boomer, and I really like try to omit social media as a whole because like I don't feel well emotionally when online, and especially since everything is basically advertisement driven. Like it's not good.
You don't.
It's been getting significantly worse. So I've also moved away from following people because it's terrible, and now it's mostly how I know what is happening in Göttingen. I know about events happening in Germany.
Yeah, exactly.
When is it CSD happening in this neighborhood? I know because of Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. And
This is now the news feed.
yeah, exactly. And that's the point. Like I'm realizing myself as well, like that it's a good news outlet in order to get general information, and especially if the algorithm can work in your favor sometimes, and especially if you know how to control it. Like there's this whole job thing about influencers and basically everything they do is like related to understanding the algorithm. So yeah, more power to you. Yeah, if you know how to use it, that's great. Like that's a news outlet that works for you, and that's what I definitely appreciate. But for me, it's just like not the right news outlet, I guess.
Advertisement for other people that do like the internet.
I use social media, but not like normal people, I guess. Like
Okay.
I do have a Reddit account, but my feed is 90% cat pictures
Oh,
in
same.
basically every way possible. And the other 10% are a mix of memes and special interests inside special interests. And I don't think that's how other people use social media, but
No, that's what it's for. The
Yeah.
things that you think are interesting. That's what I use it for.
yeah. Well, I don't think cat pictures are interesting. I just think they are cute.
Very cute. Very, very cute. There's the subreddit of like angry cats, and oh my god, they're so funny.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful.
I directly have a picture in mind.
There are many subreddits with cats, and I'm always adding more.
Nice, yeah.
Yes.
A fine addition to my collection.
But I don't have any more points regarding our actual topic, and unless we will derail any further, I think we should stop. And with that, I would say thank you for listening. And we don't have an outro in English yet, so this will have to do it.
We can make one up as we go until we have a real one.
Yeah, no, I don't want to.
Okay.
What's the German outro? I forgot.
It's
I, to be fair, I think in an English episode that's very off-putting if we have an English intro but a German outro.
No, but I don't know. Like you could probably translate something.
yes, but then I would have to think about it and do something with my brain. And just like I said earlier, I'd like to not do something
Yes.
compared to doing something. So yeah,
You can end it with Tschüssi.
goodbye, leave,
Get lost.
get lost.
Arrivederci.
I mean, why are you still listening? The episode is over.
Exactly. Get out.
Yes, go.
Do the dishes or so.
If you're doing the dishes, then dry your hands and move to your phone and press stop.
Exactly.
There's nothing coming anymore. That's it.
Yes.
There's no post-credit scene.
Not at all. Yeah. Why would you think there is one?
If we had the budget, we would buy more pizza.
Ooh,
Nice.
cat. Can we have a podcast cat?
A pizza
I don't
podcast
know. I don't know, but yeah, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Tschüss.